Today is Thursday, December 12. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Moody's ratings agency on Wednesday upgraded the government of Jamaica's long-term user and senior unsecured ratings to B2 from B3 with an outlook of stable. Moody's cited continued improvements in the country's economic resilience and debt ratios, key structural reforms to strengthen Jamaica's macroeconomic framework, particularly the move to inflation targeting that enabled the Bank of Jamaica to ease monetary policy as contributors to the upgrade. Moody's also recognized the steps taken by the government of Jamaica to strengthen its fiscal resilience against natural disasters by developing a disaster risk financing policy with strategies to cover immediate financing needs arising from weather-related events. The change in outlook from positive to stable was based on expectations that these macroeconomic and debt dynamics improvements will be sustained. The Minister of Finance and Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clark, said, quote, "We are pleased with the upgrade of Jamaica's credit rating by Moody's. Today's upgrade underscores the importance of GOJ's commitment to sustained economic reform," end quote. The government is seeking to strike a balance between the growth of local music industry and the upholding of the rule of law. National Security Minister Dr. Chang says that the thinking behind the temporary amendment of the Noise Abatement Act up to January 31. Dr. Chang expanded on this at a press brief on Wednesday at the office of the Prime Minister. He said the government is considering the imposition of sound ordinances.
As we deliberate on proposed policies, we must also factor the long-term health, environmental and behavioral implications of noise in these decisions. It is imperative that as our music and entertainment industries expand, we must simultaneously put in place an appropriate regulatory framework to support the development of industry while securing the fundamental rights of all our citizens. The Ministry of National Security is spearheading the work of developing the basis for the establishment of sound ordinances, which will be used to inform a comprehensive review and amendment of the Noise Abatement Act. Sound ordinances is the modern acceptable civilized way of controlling noise or sound within communities across the globe. Jamaican entertainers operate with them internationally. There is no reason why they could not operate with them in Jamaica.
Dr. Chang said that the government considered the increased activity of the Yuletide season in coming to the decision to relent on noise abatement.
I must reiterate the bill as a temporary measure, which seeks to accommodate the increased activity over the festive season, which generates not only entertainment, camaraderie, and social interaction, but is an area of significant economic activity by the entertainment industry. It ends on the 31st of January. It does not seek to replace the comprehensive review or any further amendment, not only to the Noise Abatement Act, but the Local Government Act, the Place of Amusement Act, which comes in the local government ambit, and is required to meet some standards which are set by the National Environmental Planning Agency in terms of the planning standards by NEPA.
However, the minister warned event planners, operators, that the government would not be relaxing the tolerable sound levels as established under the Noise Abatement Act.
We are not seeking to change the sound levels prescribed in the Noise Abatement Act, or especially in the schedule as established by NEPA over many years. The professionals who organize these events must put in place necessary measures to ensure that the level of the sound does not cause disturbance. If they do, the public order regulations will be enforced without any hesitation. In plain language, if you exceed the sound levels and disturb the citizens in neighboring area, despite of having permission to go until 4, the police will have the right to lock you down. And in view of the fact that there will be increased incidents or increased events over the next 8 weeks, I expect, the police will not have time to give you a warning. I don't instruct, but I can give guidance. I cannot have the police chasing after events. It means that if you exceed the sound level, the police will lock you down on the first occasion. What will differ on the second occasion, if they return, my guidance them, they can apply the law and seize your equipment.
The Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, says teams are working tirelessly to ensure that there are no interruptions in service. The company on Wednesday commissioned a $3.7 billion hybrid energy storage system on Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston as part of efforts to mitigate against service interruptions that its customers suffer. Chief Operating Officer of the JPS, Gary Barrow, says the 25-megawatt hybrid energy storage facility is primarily designed to incorporate more renewable energy, such as wind and solar. The hybrid storage system is a first of its kind in the Caribbean and the largest battery flywheel hybrid in the world. President and Chief Executive Officer of the JPS, Emmanuel De Rosa, described the HESS as a game changer. Prime Minister Andrew Holness offered closing remarks at the recently concluded 9th African, Caribbean and Pacific Summit of Heads of State of Governments.
We, the heads of state and government of the Organization of African, Caribbean and Pacific States, meeting in our 9th summit from the 9th to the 10th of December in Nairobi, Kenya, express deep appreciation of the heartfelt welcome and hospitality extended to us all and our delegations during our stay in Kenya.
Mr. Holness congratulated Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta for his country's organization of the event.
We express profound gratitude to His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, for the excellent facilities for all our delegations. We commend the President and the Government of Kenya for the meticulous preparations and excellent organization of the 9th Summit of ACP Heads of State and Government. And we congratulate President Uhuru Kenyatta on his accession to the presidency of the 9th Summit of the ACP Heads of State and Government under the theme, A Transformed ACP Committed to Multilateralism.
U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica Donald Tapia and the American Chamber of Commerce of Jamaica signed a memorandum of understanding cementing the business relationship between the two organizations. The MOU will, according to the ambassador, provide clear focus to facilitate business and the future of trade between Jamaica and the United States in support of the U.S. government's U.S. Caribbean 2020 initiative. He adds that this agreement will permit AmCham Jamaica to provide core fee-based services to U.S. companies interested in the Jamaican market. And the government is in the process of removing licenses and fees as well as a few other steps to make the export of local goods and services easier. State Minister for Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Floyd says the trade process is over-bureaucratized. He was speaking at a recent signing ceremony of Memorandum of Understanding to facilitate the third installment of the Jamaica Promotions Corporation's Export Development Program, Export Max 3, at the Jamaica Pegasus. The 3 years initiative will run until 2022 and it's geared towards providing focused capacity, advocacy and market penetration support to exporters and export-ready firms. Jamaicans are being advised that the due date for payroll statutory deductions and fourth quarter income tax payments is next Monday, December 16. According to the Tax Administration of Jamaica, TAJ, the original due dates of December 14 and 15 were revised because the dates fell on the weekend. Business people are being encouraged to use the online payment option, as TAJ says its online service accommodates the filing and payment of all major tax types, including income tax, property tax, general consumption tax, and payroll taxes. Speaking in the Senate last week, opposition spokesman on planning and development Dr. Haughton had this to say about a proposal from opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips about a 2% reduction in the general consumption tax, GCT.
There has been many talks and our party leader made some hint and tossed out a bait about reducing GCT by 2%. And I heard Senator Sinclair as well as Ardley Shaw talking about, yes, they are going to take this into consideration without breaking down the numbers. Mr. President, let me, instead of break down, let me break up the numbers. If we are supposed to reduce GCT by 2%, moving it from 16.5 to 14.5%, it will cost the country around 25 to 26 billion, assuming that every year we intake 200 billion from GCT. Now this 2% is going to cost the country $26 billion. That is the average cost.
However, in a statement Wednesday, he retracted. In a statement issued by the People's National Party, Haughton said he crossed the line when he trespassed on the portfolio responsibilities of Dr. Peter Phillips and Mark Golding. Golding is the opposition spokesman on finance and the public service. This week in our Living Healthy report, we are looking at how to identify pain source and pain management. According to medicinenet.com, pain is an unpleasant sensation that can range from mild, localized discomfort to agony. When some people are talking about chronic pain, they often seek to get an MRI, a magnetic resonance imaging, or a CT scan. Now, before we ask Dr. Bailin about these diagnostic options, let's define them. An MRI is a test of the brain and spinal cord that looks for, among other things, blood vessel damage, brain injury, cancer, multiple sclerosis, spinal cord injuries, stroke. A CT scan combines a series of X-ray images taken from different angles around your body and uses computer processing to create images of the bones, blood vessels, and soft tissues inside your body. CT scans can show a tumor's shape, size, and location. Doc, when is it a necessary option to do an MRI or a CT scan?
If you do your full clinical examination, and you find no problems, and in my practice, I refer my patients to the appropriate specialist, whether say a neurosurgeon, orthopedic surgeon, and then we work together, and then I discuss with them the need for the MRI. Because remember, when a person has an MRI, if something is a problem with it, what next? And so therefore, if I'm looking down the line, I'd like to be able to work with colleagues in that area so we can then decide where to go next. I think many MRIs we do is really patient driven, because people feel that I have a pain, something must be wrong. And that's when one of the issues I want to stress again is that it's not necessarily that there's a physical structure which is causing your pain. Because I've asked people to go for MRIs, and because they've been so persistent, I must have an MRI, must have an MRI, must have an MRI. And sometimes you don't do it, and they'll go to somebody else and have the MRI done. But I always advise that if I'm going to do an MRI, I will consult with another specialist in a particular area. If you're having back pain, I'd want to speak with my neurosurgeon or my orthopedic surgeon, a back spine surgeon, and say, look here, I have patient Mary Jane or John Smith, and we're going to do an MRI. And this is my findings, and I'll over to you after that. And that person, if they don't, they have to understand that that is a way to properly treat and manage what's going on. Because many MRIs are negative, and the person has pain.
It's interesting that you brought up the idea of back pain. I know a lot of people have arthritic pain, but a lot of cases are complaints about pain in the back area. What are some of the common causes of back pain?
But we want to look at, first of all, just to make sure what is back pain. It's not always spine. The back is composed, the whole back structure, just very briefly, is composed of what? You've got the skin, you've got the muscles, you've got tendons, you've got ligaments, and you have the joints. The joints that allow the back and the neck to move. Now each one of those structures can have a pain issue. And it's also it will be present as back pain. So a back pain does not necessarily mean there's something wrong with your spine, and that's one of the most difficult things, because people believe once it's back pain the spine is gone, and that is not necessarily the case. So what are the common causes? Our posture. Remember, our upright posture allows us to get pain. And then when we sit, like I'm sitting now, not properly, you're not fully supported. You're in a position where we're working nowadays, where we're looking at computers, we're in bad positions. The keyboard is too high or too low. The neck is in one position for many hours. It puts strain on the muscles. We end up with pain. Overweight, and so that you have a big tummy, you're causing more stress on the lower back. Usually when people have low back structure, it's usually the vertebrae in the back, it's usually the lower lumbar vertebrae, the 4 and the 5 and the 5 and the S1. Those are low vertebrae who tend to have the more strain, and they tend to be degenerated. So in terms of what causes pain, what's a common cause? Degeneration. As we get older, we get changes in the structure, and we get we call osteophyte arthritic changes, and therefore that may precipitate some of the pain as well.
Motorists should see an increase at the pumps in the price of gasoline and diesel effective December 12, according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Pbcj. 80 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $126.87 and $129.70 per liter, with respective increases of 9 cents and 8 cents. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $133.84 per liter, following an increase of 25 cents, while ultra-low sulfur is up by 4 cents and will be sold for $137.61 per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene prices remain the same and will be sold for $113.13 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $41.83 per liter, down by $3.06, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $47.60 per liter, a decrease of $2.64. Do remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. The US dollar is being traded at $135.56, up by 13 cents. That's according to Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $102.10, down from $102.66, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $177.91, up from $176.05. Effective Friday, December 13, the Bank of Jamaica will no longer exchange cotton-based TT $100 banknotes at its banking counter. The BOJ said its decision comes after the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago advised that effective December 31, the notes will be demonetized and will therefore no longer be legal tender. The BOJ said its policy is only to accept and give value for foreign banknotes that are in circulation. The BOJ noted that the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago issued new polymer 100 banknotes into circulation effective December 10. In regional news, residents in Trinidad and Tobago flock to the banks to change their $100 bills following news that the $100 notes will be changed to the new polymer notes by the end of the year. And in the Bahamas, at least 50 bodies remain unidentified following the passage of Hurricane Dorian. Stay tuned for these stories.
Member of Industry and Commerce, Gabriel Faria, is calling on government to consider a 90-day transition period as opposed to a December 31st deadline for converting to the use of the new $100 polymer bill. The call comes on the heels of chaotic scenes at banks throughout the country on Tuesday as hundreds lined up hopeful of securing the new polymer note. Acknowledging government's position of the need to switch from old to new due to national security concerns, the Chamber CEO says a longer transition period will allow for businesses to run smoothly and will have little effect on the national population.
The commercial banks have a very strong governance and compliance mechanisms. So if anything unusual were to happen during that period of time, those transactions can be conveyed to the Minister of National Security, Minister of Finance, or the central bank. So a normal business that will do transactions at a certain level, those transactions, anything above that can be recorded. So
Mr. Faria noted with concern what took place at some of the banks on Tuesday and said if the new polymer notes aren't readily available, there was still a way to work around securing your personal finances.
What many of them have done is they have gone out and taken $50 notes or $20 notes instead, if they are not able to get $100 notes.
Mr. Faria said meanwhile business would most likely continue to be affected if government doesn't step in to address the matter. He said the entire approach and timing are bad for business.
It's unfortunate that at a time like this, when consumers should be focusing on shopping and when businesses should be focusing on driving commercial activity, we are distracted in dealing with a matter like this, which I know some of my members are saying that this is really distracting them from focusing on driving commercial activity at this time of the year.
TTT News also understands that some businesses have already started refusing what's being referred to as the old $100 bill, while others have set deadlines for accepting it as payment. The Chamber CEO reminded members of the business community that the regular $100 bill is still legal tender until December 31st, 2019.
Dwayne Sands confirming today that 50 unclaimed bodies retrieved in Abaco remain in an air-conditioned trailer in Marsh Harbor nearly 3 months after the passage of Hurricane Dorian. Speaking with reporters outside of Cabinet today, Dr. Sands said 4 bodies in Abaco and 10 bodies in Grand Bahama have been identified and released to family.
So in Abaco, there remains in the trailer in Abaco a significant number of bodies, I believe, probably about 50. I would have to be looking at my notes to get it exactly right. DNA samples have been taken, and the expected time from DNA sampling until comparison and conclusion could be as long as 6 to 9 months. That is the international standard or timeline, unless you use rapid DNA techniques. So yes, there are still a number of remains in Abaco. 4 persons have been released to their families. All of the others remain yet to be identified, yet to be released.
Dr. Sands said the government is in the process of identifying a burial site for the unclaimed victims. While he urged families to come forward and claim their loved ones, he said there has been a major hurdle.
In sports, we're on the pitch with cricket as India clinched the West Indies on Wednesday to clinch the T20 series.
And he doesn't. Kohli conquers him. Beautiful. 6 of them. That's in the gap as well.
Oh, down the ground for 4, cross-batted. Now very high and very long too. Points to the batsman. Cannot stop the carnage. They keep batting like this. They'll get those. What a shot. Bottom hand again. 50 of 21 balls. Virat Kohli. 4. There goes Virat Kohli again. Won't get it. This continues to be an absolutely outstanding over from Sheldon Cottrell. Hang on, KL Rahul's asking for height.
Yeah, it's a fair delivery. It's a fair delivery.
2 things about that. For a start, it wasn't over shoulder high. But we've seen episodes like this in the game before, where the bowler can then turn around and say, you did not call the first one as over shoulder high. We've seen that before in T20 cricket. The umpire has to call one for the over. Kohli goes for the shot. He's got to finish it in style. He is with a 6, 240 comes up. It was such a good over up to that point. It's still a very good one with 9 coming up the end. But is there something Virat Kohli cannot do on a cricket ground? 70 of 29. What an exhibition of batsmanship we've seen today at the Wankhede Stadium.
And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.